Hello, I'm Blair from FIRST, and welcome to the first robotics competition judge show, where we will cover lots of information on all the awards this year directly from the judges. In this show, first we'll talk about the traditional submitted awards, and then we will get into the details of the new at-home challenges. Now, this video is part of a two-part series. Our second installment will be on January 30th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Teams will be able to submit questions to our judges. It'll be a live Q&A. Now be sure to watch this segment in its entirety as we cover what's needed for the awards, as well as some best practices. Then, if you still have questions, you can have them answered on the January 30th show. This year is different in many ways, so I'm sure you're not surprised that, well, the judging will be different too. Typically at an event, the judges circulate through the pits and ask questions of the teams and the students. This year, the teams come to the judges. And we want all teams to tell us that they want to talk with the judges. So submit for the awards. Be considered. And remember, deadlines are important. If you want to be eligible for the awards, make sure you submit by the deadline. Make the judges work hard this year. Let's start with the traditional submitted awards. And here to talk about them are Chief Judge Advisors, Cindy and Alan.
Hey, thanks, Blair. Hello, my name is Alan Bancroft. I live outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I've been involved with FIRST for well over 21 years, and currently the co-chief judge advisor for the past 10 years with Cindy. Cindy?
Hi, my name is Cindy Stong. I live in New Mexico, and as Alan said, I've been co-chief judge advisor with him for over 10 years, and I've been judging for over 17 years. Traditionally, submitted awards include the Chairman's Award, the First Dean's List Award, and the Woodie Flowers Award. Teams can submit on your FIRST dashboard as they have in the past for these awards. Remember, for Chairman's and Woodie Flowers, only students who've been assigned as award submitters by their mentor can submit. But for Dean's List, a mentor must submit. These awards are still trying to recognize the great things teams have done, like we have in the past. But note that Chairman's and Dean's List questions have changed a bit, and we'll give you some more detail on that later. Even though all judging is remote this season, teams will still be interviewed for Chairman's and Dean's List, much like they have in the past. So remember, submit for those awards if you're eligible. Alan?
We know you're all excited and you're probably wondering what to expect. Teams should ensure that they can join the call prior to their time slot and should have all members ready to join the call a few minutes before their scheduled time, but teams will also be given a minute buffer just in case you have any issues logging in. If a team doesn't use the full presentation time, they will be able to use the leftover presentation time during the Q&A session. For example, if you use 5 minutes and not the full 7, judges will use those 2 minutes of extra time for additional Q&A with the teams. A suggestion for your dress code? You really need to look presentable. I wouldn't go out and buy a suit or buy a new dress. Maybe wear some team gear to represent your team well. You may want to know who you're competing against. You probably heard this year, the way teams compete for these awards is a little bit different. Teams have been divided into regions based on where they are located. Awards will be distributed based on the number of teams in that region. See the manual for full details on how the regions are divided and the number of awards that will be available in your region. Cindy?
So if you win Chairman's in your judging group, congratulations, team. We will provide you more information on how your winning team advances at a later date, so stay tuned for that. Students who become finalists for First Dean's List Award move on to be considered to be one of 10 FIRST Robotics Competition Dean's List winners. And Woodie Flowers mentors who become finalists move on to be considered for the Woodie Flowers Award. The deadlines vary slightly for these awards, but they're in February this year and about a week later than typical. So note the times and note that they're Eastern time, so double check. And even better, we encourage you to have your team submit earlier so you don't fall into any technical issues or any glitches. Alan?
Thank you, Cindy. Wondering how to get help? Remember, just like other years, you can ask questions in the FRC Q&A sponsored by Autodesk. The Q&A is already open and will remain open throughout the season, but team updates will be suspended February 2nd, so make sure you make a note of that. A couple extra things you might want to be aware of. There could be internet issues during your interview, so be sure all team members have all the materials that you would like to cover so one of your teammates can step in on your behalf. There will be also an audio call-in number available if your internet does give you problems. Judges, once again, will give you that 1-minute buffer to make sure everyone's on the call before we start. Test the software ahead of time. Make sure it all works, because sometimes, it doesn't. Now that we have covered the submitted awards, let's take a deeper dive into each award. But first, let's hear from Bill and Miranda on the Chairman's Award.
Thanks, Cindy and Alan. Hi, we're here to talk about the Chairman's Award. My name is Miranda Rodriguez. I am the Senior Judge Advisor for the First in Texas District, and I've been a volunteer with First for over 10 years.
Hi, I'm Bill Garfield. I've been a volunteer with First for a little bit over 15 years, and I am from the First Mid-Atlantic region, where I'm primarily a judge or judge advisor. Today, Miranda and I are going to be talking about the Chairman's Award presentation and hopefully passing on some tips that you'll find useful. I'm going to talk a little bit about the essay, and then Miranda will give you some tips about that all-important presentation that you spend so much time preparing. So let's start with just a few thoughts about the essay. First and foremost, most important, is the due date. The Chairman's Award essay must be submitted by February 25th, 2021, not later than 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Please be careful to have your submission on time. It is very important that you have your submission in by that deadline. The essay, as we commonly refer to it, is actually two different documents, or at least it's a document in two different parts. The first part is a series of mandatory questions, and then the second part is an essay, a free-form essay, where you can provide more details about some of the information presented in the mandatory questions. One thing I'd like to point out is that this year, the mandatory questions have changed. First has changed some of the questions and also changed the order of some of the questions. These changes I think you'll like, because what they do is give more clarity as to what the question is and what the desired response might be. The reason we do the mandatory questions is it gives the judges the opportunity to have all teams coming into the judge room to answer the same questions, and so that we can understand various aspects of the team and team activities with the responses to a common set of questions. Many of these answers are the same from team to team. In some cases, they're different, as teams have achieved things in unique ways. It's important that you give a lot of thought to these answers, because there's limited space and the answers need to be clear and concise. After you've completed the mandatory questions, the essay is more of a free-form format where you can tell the judges what's on your mind. Tell us about your team. Tell us about your journey. Tell us about what you're really proud of in this last season. I would encourage you not to reiterate in the essay things that you've already stated in the mandatory questions, but rather you may look at the mandatory questions and pick out 2 or 3 items that you think are really noteworthy and focus on those 2 or 3 noteworthy items in your essay, so that the judges can understand better the nuances of something that you feel your team has done that's particularly of note by the judges. Remember that the judges really enjoy chairman's presentations, because we're hearing about some great ideas and some very innovative approaches that teams come up with on their journey through First. But also remember that we are looking for standouts in a room full of giants. Teams that come into the Chairman's Award room are many times seasoned teams. They're teams that have been working on this for many years. And we have the privilege as judges of hearing some great stories about some great successes. So it's really important that as you frame your essay, that you're pointing out to the judges what makes your team different or what makes your team noteworthy as compared perhaps to other teams who may have promoted first and first values differently. Please have your teams read and reread your essays for consistency. One of the things we often see is some inconsistencies between the presentation that is made in the live presentation, the essay, and the mandatory questions. Now, just because there's inconsistencies doesn't mean that the answers are not wrong or that the answers are some way inaccurate. Sometimes when you tell the same story from a different perspective, it might sound different than if it was told from a different point of view. So please look at all of the information that you're going to present to the judges and make sure that it's consistent and knitted up. I wish you the best on your presentations this season and look forward to reading a lot of really good essays. Now, let's have Miranda tell us a few points about the actual presentation. Miranda?
Sounds good, Bill. Now, despite being remote, your interview will still look familiar. Your team of 3 chairman's presenters still have a total of 12 minutes. In general, that works out to 7 minutes of presentation time and 5 minutes of Q&A, but the time is yours to work with. Because this year is remote, there are 2 key changes. First, teams will have about a 1-minute buffer to help account for technical trouble, and an adult mentor must be on the call as a silent observer. So let's talk about some best practices for that remote interview. First, practice. Know who is going to be sharing their screen, who is going to be speaking, and who has an internet dead spot in their living room. Second, make sure all of your presenters know the presentation in case someone drops from the call. And third, while you can share your screen, sharing video can sometimes be difficult. If you are sharing a video, practice with it and make sure you know what it's going to look like on the other side. And if you're sharing, let the judges know. We can help let you know if something has gone wrong on the technical side. Now, 2020 has, of course, been a very strange and unpredictable year. How do you talk about growth and sustainability when your team has been quarantined, right? Maybe you couldn't do your normal awesome program that brings hundreds of people into a crowded gym. That's fine. The judges know. We want to know what you did with the cards that were dealt to you. Tell us what you could do. Did you stay connected with your team? Did you think of an interesting way to do remote engagement? Did you think of an innovative way to stay engaged with your sponsors? We want to know. Now, there are lots of other resources available online. Bill, would you like to talk through some of them?
Sure. That's right, Miranda. There are a lot of resources online that I would encourage you to take advantage of. Many teams that are very practiced with the Chairman's Award, particularly the Hall of Fame teams, often share their presentations online, and they often also will provide tips. Don't be afraid to contact other teams, Hall of Fame teams and other teams that have perhaps been doing it longer, and ask them for guidance. Many of them will be more than happy to help. But one resource in particular I'd like to point out is that just a few weeks ago in early December, we first created a Chairman's Chat with a lot of more detailed information about the Chairman's Award presentation and the Chairman's Award process. It contains a lot more detail than what we were able to cover here today. So that information is available to you through First, and I would encourage you to spend the time looking at that video and learning how that video and the tips contained in it might be helpful for your team as you prepare your presentation. So good luck, teams. Have a great season, and we're looking forward to some great Chairman's Award presentations. Miranda?
Have a great season, and now let's hear from some of our Hall of Fame teams.
The Chairman's Award executive summaries are very different from the questions teams have been asked in previous years. These short essays are the first thing the judges will see when they open your team submission.
Some questions have been removed. Now there is only one question that asks how your team has started, assisted, and mentored other teams in all First programs, just like you only need 1 square of chocolate for your s'more.
There's a question that asks what is one thing your team needs to improve on and what are the steps being taken to make these improvements. This could be like how to make a better s'more, like not burning your marshmallow.
Graham cracker, marshmallow, chocolate, individually these things are all okay. But put them together and you get something much more amazing, a s'more. This is like the question asked about your team's diversity and inclusion. All of the pieces combined together create an impact that's greater than any one person.
Not every team submits for the Chairman's Award, but we encourage all first teams to use these new executive summaries for team building, ideas for outreach, and inspiration.
Hi, we are Exploding Bacon, and here are our top 10 tips. Number 1, communicate.
Number 2, prepare technology beforehand.
Number 3, be creative with your visuals. Number 4, use the first definitions.
Number 5, practice, practice, practice.
Number 6, don't repeat yourself. Number 7, divide your presentation into topics.
Number 8, get your whole team involved.
Number 9, cater to your team's unique strengths. Number 10, have your heart in the right place. As Team 3132 says, if you're doing chairmans just to win chairmans, you're not doing it right.
Remember, you'll be presenting on a Zoom call. These are some of the things that might happen.
This year, no matter the award, there will be online judging.
Here are some common questions teams might have about the online judging.
Should teams use virtual backgrounds?
Virtual backgrounds are a great place to put visuals in a virtual friendly way, where before you would use physical visuals, the virtual background is free real estate for any data or just a nice, clean image that you want to show the judges.
How should teams prepare for an online video interview?
The best way to prepare for an online interview is practice, practice, practice. By joining Zoom calls with your teammates and generating the chemistry you need and get the consistency you want, you'll have yourself a great presentation.
Thanks, Green Machine and Exploding Bacon. Some great tips and tricks there. And thanks to our judge advisors, Bill and Miranda, as well. The Chairman's Award is such a prestigious award. It's the top team award for the first robotics competition. And now, here to tell you about the top individual student award, the first Dean's List Award, are veteran judges, Joanne and Dave.
Thanks, Blair. I'm Joanne Heberer. I'm a judge advisor in Northern California, and this is my 21st season of volunteering for FIRST.
And I'm Dave Greenlee. I've been a volunteer for 19 years, and I'm currently the senior judge advisor for First Mid-Atlantic. Joanne is going to talk a little bit about the Dean's List and why it's so important.
You know, Dean's parents always encouraged his passion for innovation and his gift for motivating leaders throughout the world to support the FIRST mission. And so it was the family's hope to encourage the passion in all FIRST students to promote the FIRST mission, both as a student and then for years to come as members of the FIRST student alumni. So in 2010, the Keeman family created a means to recognize student leadership and dedication to FIRST. The FIRST Dean's List celebrates outstanding student leaders and their passion for and effectiveness at attaining FIRST ideals. They recognize students who have led their teams and their communities to increase the awareness for FIRST while still achieving personal technical expertise and accomplishments. The Dean's List Award is nominated from 2 students from every team who are 2 to 3 years away from entering college or university. It's submitted via the team registration system by an adult award submitter, and the due date is coming up. It's on Thursday, February 18th, 2021 at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Over to you, Dave.
You know, as you look at the submission, there are 4 questions in the submission. And I'd encourage you to talk to your mentor about how those questions are answered, because they are actually 4 different questions. They're not asking the same thing 4 different ways. So please make sure that you answer the question. And the other thing, as your mentor is writing up your nomination, we're really looking for specifics. Sometimes the judges see nominations that are very general, and it's a challenge for the judges to figure out what specifically did you do? What was your unique leadership contribution to your team or your community? So please have your mentor, as they're writing your nomination, be as specific as possible around your leadership and your contributions. The interviews this year will be the same as there always are. They're 5 to 7 minutes. The questions are going to come from your submission. The judges get your submission, and then they read that before they interview you, and they'll formulate their questions for you from that. So please, as a minimum, make sure you've read your submission and you understand what's in it, because that's where the questions come from. When you have your interview, the interviews will all be on video, like most of them were last year, and you'll need to have an adult, either a mentor or a parent or some adult on the call with you. I'm going to have Joanne talk a little bit now about some of the best practices for you to consider. Joanne?
Thanks, Dave. So as you think about the information that you'll provide for the first Dean's List Award, be prepared to tell stories. And I just want to remind you that there are always three parts of a story. There is a beginning, or what was the purpose of your effort, whether it was fundraising or some new software, or maybe even to recruit more members to your team. What did you do about it? Describe those actions that you took. How did you organize people? And most importantly, what was the outcome? And what did you get out of the experience itself? These are three important pieces, and it's a great way to let the judges know about those examples around each of the questions that they'll ask. Dave?
Yeah, one other thing which I'm really encourage you, this is one of those times where it's okay to say I, not we. And all the judges know that everything that we do almost all the time and that you do on your team is as part of a team. So you're working together with your mentors, your parents, your teammates. But for the Dean's List, it is an individual award, and it's okay to say I. It's okay to brag a little bit about what you've done and be proud of that. As you interact with the judges, again, as we said for the submission, be specific. Okay, it makes it much, much easier for the judges when you're giving specifics. Here's what I did. Here's where I made a difference. That really is helpful. One of the other things to think about is this year with the COVID pandemic, it's been challenging for everybody. And some people may say, well, with COVID, how could I do the things I need to do in the community or with my team? We can't meet. And I guess another way to look at that is the COVID pandemic with respect to the Dean's List has created a blank slate for everybody. Everybody is having to step back and look at, well, how do I take what I believe in first and the first ideals and act on that in a pandemic? And so as you look at this year, it's the same for everybody. Everybody's in the same situation, which I think from a judge's perspective, I'm really looking forward to reading your nominations this year. Couple of final thoughts, and I'll turn it back to Joanne now.
Thanks for all that great advice to all of you. And Dave and I both have a lot of experience reading these, and we always look forward to those stories and the amazing creative events and methods that all of you do. So we do want to hear about this. Anyway, let's wrap up here. Don't forget to look at the submitted awards page on the First Inspires website for more details about the first Dean's List. Dave and I want to wish luck to all of you for this upcoming season. It'll be an exciting one, and go out and be a force for change. So now, let's hear from some previous Dean's List Award winners for their advice to you.
If I could give one piece of advice for a Dean's List interview, it would be that there's no right or wrong answer to any of the questions. The judges just want to get to know you a little better, so just answer honestly and don't worry about it. Good luck.
In your Dean's List interview, along with describing your leadership and your contributions to your team and your community, you should also talk about how FIRST programs have transformed your understanding of competition. While talking about your technical expertise, explain how you have applied FIRST values outside of the competition and how collaboration has helped you grow as an individual. Showing your passion for FIRST is the most important thing for you to do.
It's extremely important that you know your Dean's List essay from top to bottom, and you're able to talk passionately about the experiences you've had with FIRST, and how you continue to pay it forward and inspire others to pursue STEM and participate in FIRST Robotics.
So, number 1, make a list of what you've done. It'll help you for when you're practicing, and it might lead to some interesting conversation starters with the judges. Number 2, make sure you practice. The judges want to be able to hear and understand what you say. So if you're able to be clear and concise as you practice, that'll help them out a lot. And number 3, make sure that you read the essay that your mentors wrote about you, and then don't just cover that, okay? Expand on other parts. The interview is meant to provide a different point of view on what you've done in first.
At your interview, make sure to stay loose and relaxed while keeping a conversational tone. The interview will give you plenty of chances to talk about everything that you do, but remember that the most important thing is to just be yourself.
Stay true to yourself. It's your time to shine. Share your story because First wants to hear it. You have all done so much for your teams and communities you live in. Be proud of yourself for how far you have all come. Keep doing what you love the most. Imagine and invent because the sky is no longer the limit when you dream big.
Just to be nominated for the first Dean's List Award is an honor, so be sure to nominate someone from your team. And now here's a presentation about our final traditional submitted award, the Woody Flowers Award.
We have just bid farewell to one of the strangest years that any of us have spent on this planet. We have been thinking about all the people in our world that have stepped up to make change happen. In our first world, those people are your mentors. This year, they had to reinvent your teams down to the very core. They had to invent new ways to deliver first to you. They had to convince administrators, sponsors, parents, and even you yourselves that you could have a meaningful first experience this year. Even if your teams didn't seem to meet often, the work your mentors have been doing behind the scenes should be recognized. These people bring it daily for you. Let's celebrate them. Think about the last time you did something for someone, the last time you gave someone something, the last time you stood up for someone. Did they thank you? If they did, wasn't it heartwarming? If they didn't, did you feel the same about them? We have a way for you to thank your mentors that have made your team and your first experience happen. It's free. You and your friends can collaborate, and you will produce a tribute that will make your chosen mentor smile right down to their toes. This is the Woody Flowers Finalist Award that leads to the Championship Woody Flowers Award. Hello, I am Freddie Lajavardi, and my students got together and did this for me. They wrote an essay and gathered pictures that captured their appreciation of my efforts, and it soared to the championship level. My students' work was analyzed and discussed by former Championship Woody Flowers Award winners, and they chose it in 2013 as an example of what a first mentor can do for their team. When I heard my acts reflect in the words of my students, it made me swell with pride for them and my team. You can do this for your deserving mentors. You need to get on this. Submissions close Thursday, February 18, 2021 at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The submission rules are the same as always. The Woody Flowers Award celebrates effective communication in the art and science of engineering and design. Dr. William Murphy founded this prestigious award in 1996 to recognize mentors who lead, inspire, and empower using excellent communication skills. The Woody Flowers Award is presented to one WFFA winner at the earlier First Championship, and the winner will also be recognized at the second First Championship each year. This award recognizes an individual who has done an outstanding job of motivation through communication, while also challenging the students to be clear and succinct in their communications. The COVID-19 pandemic has tested all of us. It has tested our scientists, our politicians, our schools, our families, and our strength. This has hurt many of us deeply, and our community needs to understand that while some were inconvenienced, others lost multiple family members forever. Your teams can and have been a source of strength for your communities. Tell us about how your mentors helped you and others through these challenges, in addition to their role in this shortened season on your teams. The award-winning essay should answer this question: how did the candidate inspire your team throughout this process? If the judges determine the essay best describes how this individual excels above all others as he or she inspires the team, then that mentor truly deserves to be recognized with an award that honors Professor Woody Flowers and his contribution to engineering, education, and communication. A specific judging criterion is based on the team's description of how the mentor inspired each member of the team in some or all of the following ways: level of student participation, creativity of effort, a clear explanation of mathematical, scientific, and engineering concepts, demonstration of enthusiasm for science and engineering, encouragement to work on projects as a team effort, inspiration to use problem-solving skills, inspiration to become an effective communicator, and motivation through communication. Do this. Take the time to say thank you. Your mentors deserve this, and so do you. You have all done amazing things this year. Showcase your game changers for 2021.
Thanks to Freddie and the WFA group for putting that presentation together. Teams, be sure to honor your mentors and coaches. They deserve it. Submit them for the Woody Flowers Finalist Award. Okay, now we'll move on to the at-home challenges. Here once again are Cindy and Alan.
Thanks again, Blair. So far, we've covered all the traditional submitted awards. So now we're excited to talk about the new at-home challenges, which include the Game Design Challenge, the Infinite Recharge at Home, and the First Innovation Challenge presented by Qualcomm. This is going to be an exciting year. If you've wanted to be part of the first experience by designing a game, now you can try. If you've been itching to share a cool robot feature that you perfected last season but didn't get to demonstrate, now you can share it with the judges. And don't forget the First Innovation Challenge. There are many ways to have fun this season and keep your skills sharp. Teams will submit the required information on the FRC at Home portal. Over to you, Alan.
Oh, thank you, Cindy. Teams can see full details in Chapter 1 on how to access the portal, but we wanted to give you a sneak peek here. Lead Mentor 1 or 2 can access the code from First Dashboard on the Passwords/Voucher Codes page. The mentor should locate the code for FRC at Home portal and go to frcathome.org to opt into the challenges they want to participate in. This will also take you to the page to submit your information. Wondering what to expect during the interview? Teams should ensure they can join the call prior to their time slot and should have all members ready to join the call a few minutes before their scheduled time. But teams will also be given a 1-minute buffer just to make sure everyone's able to connect. Remember, teams must have one mentor on the call for this session. Teams can have as many students as they want, but teams should consider having their best presenters to ensure the correct content is being delivered. If a team doesn't use the full presentation time, just like before, they will be able to use the leftover presentation time for Q&A. So once again, for example, if you only use 5 minutes and not the full 7, judges will get 2 minutes extra of Q&A to the teams. That's not a bad thing. As far as the dress code, don't buy a dress or a tuxedo. Wear your nice team gear and look professional. Back to you, Cindy.
Thanks, Ellen. For the at-home challenges, teams are divided into groups and compete with other teams regardless of location. For example, a team from Australia may be placed in the same group as a team from Michigan. Each group has about 30 teams. Remember, the FRC at Home portal opens on February 4th for teams to start submitting. The information is due for all challenges except the skills competition by March 4th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. The skills competition deadline is April 8th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. We encourage teams to submit early in case you have any last-minute technical glitches. Back to you, Ellen.
Thanks, Cindy. Wondering how to get help? First thing, don't panic. Teams with technical issues should contact FRC at Home at firstinspires.org for help. And remember, Just like other years, you can ask questions in the FRC Q&A system sponsored by Autodesk. The Q&A is already open and will remain open throughout the season, but team updates will be suspended February 2nd, so please make a note of that. Some other information you may want to be aware of. Again, there could be internet issues during the interview. Be prepared and have multiple people with the presentation materials that can step in and support you. There will be an audio call-in number as well, so make sure you have that on hand. Again, judges will give you an extra minute just to make sure everyone's on the call before they start. Test the software ahead of time because it doesn't always work as we expect. Now, Susan and Jean are going to go over the details on Game Design Challenge.
Thanks, Alan and Cindy. Now we're here to talk about the Game Design Challenge. Susan?
Hi, everyone. I'm Susan Ipry Brown, a judge advisor from the West Michigan region. I've been a judge advisor for 2 years now, as well as a first LEGO League coach in the past, and I've judged at all the different robotics levels. I'm glad to be with you today.
Hi, and I'm Gene Lawson out of Dallas, Texas. I'm also a second-year judge advisor, and I've been judging FRC events for over 10 years now.
Jean and I are here today to discuss with you the Game Design Challenge. This is an opportunity for you to share with us your creative ideas of games that you would love to be able to play with your robots. You'll have a chance to put those together into a submission and present that to a team of judges. Now, you'll compete at a regional level at first against a set of teams that you've randomly been assigned to go up for a range of different awards. And then you'll have the opportunity, if you are a finalist, to present your idea to the International First Robotics Competition Game Design Team. We're here today to outline some of the key components of this challenge, and we're going to say this over and over. Go back to the manual and read it for all of the details that you'll need. Let's take a look at the awards with Jean.
Yes, again, these are also listed in the manual, so make sure you read the manuals about your submissions. But teams can win one of 7 awards in the following categories: the Designers Award, the Concept Award, Imagery Award, Creativity Award, Engineering Design Award, and the Rookie Design Award. It's really important that you use your creativity for your submissions in order to win one of these awards. Make sure that you submit something unique to your team. Use your creativity for these submissions so that you can excel. Susan?
And not only do we want you to emphasize creativity, but we're putting in the option for you to use a Game Design Challenge element of chains. And chains are defined as a series of links or rings connected to or fitted into one another and used for various purposes, such as support, restraint, transmission of mechanical power, or measurement. Now, you won't be penalized if you don't use this element, but if you do use it, make sure that you clearly explain how it fits in your submission. And those who do use it will be eligible for the Concept Award. And again, that is a general definition. You will consider to have used that element if you creatively fit it in anywhere within that general definition.
In addition to the manual, make sure that you watch the Game Design Challenge show that was presented on January 16th. This show will also help you and your team understand the challenge and understand how to succeed and emphasize what's in the manual on what you need to do with your creativity to excel. Make sure your submissions are not copies of past first events or in other game designs that you may have seen. Use those things to emphasize or learn how to better create your game challenge that you want to present to the FIRST community. How is your first game design going to stand out on the field for others to use? Consider this as you're doing your submissions and make sure that you use a video to emphasize these things. Think of something in addition to a Word or PowerPoint documentation to get your game across to the reviewers, the judges, your fellow competitors to make your game more exciting. Make sure that your submission stands alone. If somebody sees your game design, that they understand the concept that you're presenting. Susan?
Yeah, and as Jean had mentioned, we want the submission to stand alone, but you will be offered a first round interview, everyone who submits. These interviews will last 12 minutes, 7 minutes for your presentations, and 5 minutes for questions and answers with the judges. Remember, the judges will already have seen that submission. So make sure your presentation is there to emphasize key points that you want them to know, add anything new, or put some kind of life into it that you're able to do personally versus what is presented. Now, you are open to how many team members you'd like to have participate, but keep in mind how this will come across on a screen. You probably don't want 100 little squares on the screen of people presenting. So think about that format. And as we're talking about these interviews, keep in mind they will be virtual. So when you get that invite from the judge advisor for your team's interview, make sure you can open up that platform on your screens. Become familiar with the different features because you will be allowed to screen share and use the features of the platform. It's really important as well to practice as a team. Presenting as a group online is very different than presenting in person. So put the time into practicing. The other recommendation I want to give to you is make sure you've got a backup plan. We all hope this goes smoothly, but just in case that one key person's computer decides to crash right before, make sure you got someone else who can step in and give that presentation. And as we've said multiple times, I'll say it one more time before we finish, make sure you take a look at the manual for all the different details related to your submission and your interview and the judging. Thanks so much for listening to us about the Game Design Challenge. We wish you a wonderful season. Good luck to all of you. Now back to you, Blair.
Thanks, Jean and Susan. We are so excited to see what game design concepts our teams come up with. Now let's learn about infinite recharge at home from judge advisors Ty and Gordon.
Thanks, Blair. Hi, we're here to talk to you about infinite recharge at home. I'm Gordon McLennan. I am a principal engineer at Comcast in Philadelphia. I've been a judge advisor for FRC and FLL for just over 4 years now. And one of my favorite hobbies is collecting rubber bracelets from first teams. Ty?
Thank you, Gordon. My name is Ty Prince. I'm a mechanical engineer at Technip FMC in Houston, Texas. I have been a judge with FRC for 2 years and a judge advisor for 1 year. Overall, 3 years with First Robotics. The Infinite Recharge at Home brings events to teams in 2 different ways. The first is an opportunity for teams to share information with judges about their Infinite Recharge robot and compete for traditional machine awards. Teams also have the opportunity to demonstrate what their robots and drivers can do in the skills competition. This is inspired by the Infinite Recharge game. Teams must participate in the Judge Awards component to participate in the skills component. We are focused on the Judge Awards, so that is what we're talking about today. We encourage teams that if you can safely access your robot to compete for the skills competition by submitting your scores and videos. The deadline for submission is April 8th, but note this is not required for the Judge Awards. You'll notice that most of these awards are all existing awards, but be sure to look at the guidelines as they have been tweaked to make them match this unique season. To be eligible for the Autonomous Award, you must upload a video with your submission. Gordon?
We want to emphasize here that you don't need access to your robot or a complete competition-ready robot. While the Judge Awards component does not require any robot inspection, submitted robots should generally comply with the 2021 Infinite Recharge Robot rules. So no major obvious violations. You can just focus on a specific element in design, and it can be just a CAD model. In terms of submission, the submission is pretty basic. We are looking for teams to share photos of the robot and you have the option to submit a video and flyer if you would like. It is okay for teams to reuse the images and words submitted in their interview. Remember, to be eligible for the Autonomous Award, you must upload a video with the submission. Ty?
Thank you, Gordon. For the interview, you have a total of 12 minutes, up to 7 minutes of presentations, and the remaining time of 5 minutes for Q&A. Teams can share their screen this year. While all members are able to be present for the interview, we recommend no more than 5. And this is in case of technical issues. All members should be able to speak to the content for your presentation. The judges will have already reviewed your submission info, so use this opportunity to provide new information. Remember, the talking point recommendations are in the game manual. Gordon?
There are a few differences from interviewing in the pits. Remember that in previous years, the pits, typically judges come to teams and it's a back and forth conversation. This year, you guys come to us. This year, we're asking you to give a full presentation on your robot and then have at least 5 minutes of Q&A time with the judges. Those of you who have submitted Chairman's Awards in the past will be familiar with this process. One last difference that I really like is we will be able to hear you over the loud music for once. Don't forget to read the manual for full details on infinite recharge at home. Thanks and good luck, teams.
Remember to have fun. Back to you, Blair.
Thanks, Ty and Gordon. Now let's go learn about the last at-home challenge, the first innovation challenge presented by Qualcomm, from our judge advisors, Monique and Pat.
Thanks, Blair. We're here to talk about the first innovation challenge presented by Qualcomm. My name is Pat Davison. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I've been a judge and judge advisor with FRC since 2008. Monique?
Thanks, Pat. My name is Monique Robbins. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I've been a FIRST volunteer for over 25 years and a judge and judge advisor for over 15. We're here to talk to you about the first innovation challenge. In this challenge, teams are going to explore the invention and innovation process for solving a real-world problem. Remember, although this challenge is cross programs, FRC teams will only be competing against other FRC teams. Pat?
Thank you. Let me talk about the awards for just a moment. The only award given in the First Innovation Challenge is the First Innovation Challenge semifinalist. There will be multiple versions of these awards presented within each group depending on the total number of teams that participate in the challenge. Semifinalist teams will be asked to resubmit with more information as there is not an interview for round 2. Semifinalist teams will move on for a chance to be one of 20 finalist teams invited to the first Global Innovation Awards powered by Star Wars Force for Change. This is a cross-program event that will have teams from FLL and FTC as well. Monique?
Thanks, Pat. So the interview process is 15 minutes in total. Your first 2 minutes are going to be specific to your business pitch. Your next 3 minutes are going to talk more about your impact and the design of your solution. And then the last 10 minutes are going to be for Q&A for the judges. Now, you are allowed to share your screen and you're allowed to have up to a 90-second presentation video during your presentation. And we encourage you to have several members of your team there in case there's a technology failure. It's always good to have backup.
Teams should also check out the First Innovation Challenge content series for additional help on this challenge. And as always, don't forget to look at the manual for the full details on the First Innovation Challenge. Innovate hard and have a great season.
Go be a game changer. Thanks so much. Back to you, Blair.
Thanks, Monique and Pat. And thanks to everyone who helped make this show possible, especially to our wonderful volunteer judges for their time and dedication. Now, don't forget, tune in to the live Q&A January 30th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Teams can register for the webinar at this link. Big thanks for tuning in, and hopefully your next presentation will benefit from some of the advice you heard from the judges today. Go be game changers and have a great season.